Welcome back to the Act 2 podcast, a podcast for the real-life working screenwriter. I'm Tasha Q.
And I am Josh Hallman.
And we are Act 2, a network and support group for the everyday working screenwriter. So thank you for joining us. Here we have a lot of things that go on, and the podcast is just one of those things. Please remember to subscribe to the podcast. That way you don't miss out on our upcoming topics. We're going to have a reader come in, a studio reader who reads your scripts as they come in, and he's kind of the buffer, the barrier, the first line of defense when it comes to executives and their opinion of your script. So we're going to talk to him about everything that he does and what he looks for in scripts. We have a TV executive coming on soon from a studio who's going to talk to us about what she looks for and showrunners and all the things from their point of view, which is always so helpful and insightful. So if you subscribe, you'll get little updates on when those actually come out. Please also send us your questions and your topic suggestions. We love hearing them. We love helping you guys out with, just being a sounding board for anything that you're going through. And you can do that at ActTwoWriters@gmail.com, all spelled out, or on our Instagram and Twitter and TikTok at ActTwoWriters.
Good morning.
Good morning.
You know, we've been getting a lot of questions lately, and I was going to throw something at you in This Week in Writing, but this is not what that is.
Okay.
This is just a listener question that came in. Actually, it was in a comment on Spotify. Thank you to all of the Spotify people who leave a lot of comments that we just discovered. Would you like to know what this comment was, Tasha?
I would love to know.
Why did you not like the movie Frankenstein?
It's interesting because my husband was like, "Can I continue watching it without you?" And he was like, and I said, "Yes, absolutely, of course." And within 5 minutes, he texts back. He's like, "I'm stopping it. I think you're gonna want to watch it from here on out." I was like, "Oh, I think I got to like a turning point that was very interesting." I think I was just bored. I love the opening. I thought it was really action-packed. It was really interesting. It was the very cool vibes, beautifully shot, all the things that you would expect from a Guillermo del Toro version of this movie. But then it was just such a faithful, I think, adaptation of the book that I was just like, okay, get into the story now. Like, I don't need to hear the details. And then he started being shitty, but I don't know. Have you seen it?
No, I'm watching it the next couple days.
Well, it's very early in the movie, but Oscar Isaac starts being shitty about like kind of trying to steal a woman from his brother. And then I'm like, not only is it boring, but now he's an asshole. I can't do both of these things. I don't have like the life patience for it. So that's where I was. It was beautiful, blah, blah, blah. Not in the right headspace, maybe. I don't know.
I got it. I recently watched The Housemaid. And
yes.
I really liked it.
It's so good.
Yeah.
It's so good. And did you watch it with anyone else or were you just by yourself?
No, I watched it with Nicole.
Okay. So was there any sense of like the fun tension? Because I watched in a theater and we've already talked about how seeing it in theater feels mandatory. Did you get any cool fun tension by watching it with someone else?
Yeah, I wish I actually watched it in a theater because I was watching it. I won't give too much away for those who haven't seen it. It is available to rent or purchase, so I'd highly suggest watching it. But like that first half, I was kind of like, okay, where's this going? And like it got to a point where I was like, what is happening here? And then I think you had mentioned something about the midpoint when it makes this very hard pivot. And I was like, oh my God. And I kind of had a sense of where things were going. I was like, oh, this might not be right. And then my palms were like sweaty. Yeah. I was just like clammy and I was like, oh my God.
For sure.
Oh my God. And you know what? I'm spoiling it. Here's this quick spoiler.
No, do not spoil the midpoint.
Okay. Okay. Well, I'm not going to spoil. What I will say is that the way things come together in the third act are so smart. And when people are coming back and things are doing this and that, I just thought everything was so much fun.
Yeah. Yeah, they start super tropey, and then they throw you some curveballs.
Yeah,
which is what I love, and I love that as like your pitch for what you're gonna do with your movie, right? Like I'm gonna make people feel real comfortable. They're gonna think they know what this is, and then I'm gonna completely blindside them. They've never seen something like this in like this kind of movie at this kind of level, and yeah, I think they achieved it. This is technically This Week in Writing.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
This Week in Writing.
This Week in Writing.
What I love is that my This Weeks in Writings are also about seeing things. I saw Send Help, the new Sam Raimi movie with, Rachel McAdams and Dylan O'Brien, and is this on your radar, Josh? Is this something you want to see?
It is. I love Dylan O'Brien.
Oh, what do you love him from?
He was in Teen Wolf.
Uh-huh.
He was in this movie. What was it? Not American Sniper. It was like American something or another, where his wife gets killed, and then he basically starts training with Michael Keaton and becomes this like American Assassin, I think is what it's called.
Okay.
Which I really liked him in that, and I feel like I've seen him in other things where I'm like, I really like Dylan O'Brien.
He's incredible.
Yeah,
His micro expressions, he just killed it. And Rachel McAdams killed it. It was just like, and it's such a Sam Raimi movie, you guys. It's so fun, but also so dramatic and then gross and funny, and it has all of who he is in it, and it's again one of those things where you're just so glad these movies are in theaters, that there's just this kind of variety, and people had a blast in the movie. It was packed theater, and people were laughing and they were squirming, and it was great. Highly recommend.
it feels like Send Help and Housemaid are within. They have like an overlap on the Venn diagram of kind of like
Theater
theater going experience. Yeah,
Yeah, I think that's right.
I was doing some thinking.
Okay.
I think Toy Story needs to be rebooted
Yeah, I mean, like,
And-
by Pixar, right? Like,
by Pixar.
yeah.
I was looking at the summer movie release
Mhm.
and releases, and I was like, oh, there's another Toy Story. That's right. And I love Toy Story 1, 2, and 3. Toy Story 3 is one of my all-time favorite movies.
Mhm.
And so I'm going to quickly throw a very skeleton idea at you, Tasha.
Mhm.
Now imagine a Toy Story movie that's somewhat like Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, where Indy teams up with his dad.
Okay, yeah.
So imagine like Buzz and Woody, or just Woody, kind of teaming up with like some new toys that come in, kind of passing the torch off to these new toys. But it is a Indiana Jones style adventure, but there is like a young gun River Phoenix and an older, veteran toy like Woody and Buzz, which is what they've become.
Mhm.
And so it's like a passing of the torch by way of Indiana Jones in a Toy Story universe.
I love the idea of seeing set pieces that are Indiana Jones-esque with toy parts.
Yeah. I
That
feel, because at
sounds
first
awesome.
I know that you were probably like, where was this going? But I'm sorry, I just happen to really love the Toy Story franchise.
You do.
And
Who doesn't? I've
who
not met
doesn't?
a single person who's like, "Fuck Toy Story, it's lame." No.
Yeah, and this next one looks brilliant. I think they're bringing AI into it against the toys, which I think is like the physical versus the digital, which I think is going to be awesome.
Oh, interesting.
But still, we need some new toys. We need a reboot.
Yeah.
That's all.
Okay.
Oh, that was a good This Week in Writing.
I love Toy Story. I don't think I necessarily feel like super passionate about reboot. I feel like it went downhill from one, but I know I'm in the minority there. So I like my enthusiasm for Toy Story is not as high as yours is.
I don't know what to say.
I know.
I love Toy Story 3. To me, what you
I
just
know.
said was like, someone saying they don't like Indiana Jones Part 3.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
It's fine.
I don't like the bear. Like
You
that
don't
one.
like Lotso?
No.
Oh, man. I love that guy. He's so fucking conniving. Okay.
I'm very weird sometimes when it comes to my like comfy movies, and I feel like Toy Story is my comfy movie, and it's totally a personal thing. It's not even like a story thing or anything to like teach. It's just I don't like when you disrupt my coziness with like villainy, with like true villainy
Yeah.
and evilness, and I want to get it out of here. It's not what I come here.
Oh, man. I love that movie. I might watch that You know what? Frankenstein's out. I'm watching Toy Story 3. I'm back.
My next This Week in Writing is I'm 4 episodes deep into Wonder Man, the new Marvel show. That was like very under the radar. I saw almost no marketing for
Mhm.
it. And guys, it's real good. It's only 30 minutes. It's a quick watch. Just throw it on at the end of the night or before you go to bed or whatever. And it is also it's not very Marvel-y. It's closer to, like, WandaVision than it is any of the bigger shows, and I only mean that because it's smaller, it feels smaller. It's not even that, it's, like, almost more, I don't know, like Jessica Jones. There's something, like, very real to it. Very real, very grounded. Nothing is really heightened at all. It's very funny, but not a comedy.
And it's character driven.
It's very character driven in the best possible way, and it's just about this
Yeah.
struggling actor who's struggling with more than just trying to get a job as an actor.
Yeah, I think I told you this. I have a friend who posted about it that said it was the most realistic depiction of being an actor in Los Angeles. And I
Yeah,
thought, I was like, this was based off of episode 1. He might have been
yeah.
kind of joking a little bit, but
I don't think so. I I think it is a genuine depiction of what it's like to be in this industry. And also you can tell that the writers or the creators have brought in real conversations they've had with their family who do not understand what we do. This like cute little thing that we do that doesn't matter to anyone who has real jobs, and those are really interesting. So if you're in the industry at all, it's just such it's like, "Oh, I feel seen." I feel seen by this show.
okay, I'll check it out.
Yeah. That's it. Those are my this week's in writings.
Okay, shall we?
We shall. Okay. Today we are talking about a post from Franklin Leonard earlier last month that made some waves. And Franklin Leonard is, of course, the founder of The Blacklist. He was formerly a feature film exec. I actually worked with him when he was at Universal. And The Blacklist is what got me my first professional screenwriting job. So Franklin, in my opinion, has become a real pillar of our industry. And we've wanted to talk about this article for a while, but I
Yeah.
think we needed to kind of gather our thoughts. And now we are ready to talk about it. And the article is titled The Moral Case for Selling Out.
Yeah, we've been circling it. I think what's crazy about this is it hit a chord with a lot of people. Like, so much so that you might not know this, but I just found this out about 10 seconds ago. He did a follow-up called The Moral Case for Selling Out Part 2, which is in response to how big his post was.
Is he responding to people who are like, yeah, I agree with you? Or people who are like, fuck you, Franklin. Don't tell me to sell out with your bullshit.
He kind of, said he had to give some people some tough love.
Hmm.
And this is the follow-up. But he also kind of goes into talking about log lines, pitches, things, and he just talks more about stuff within the industry.
Yeah, practical stuff.
Practical stuff, which I don't know. Let me ask you, why do you think this article hit a nerve?
I think because it was honest and true and there was no fluff to it. He also like peeled back the curtain a little bit in terms of, look, this is what's going on with the business economically, financially. This is why selling out is important for our industry as a whole to keep it healthy and flourishing, and also peek behind the curtain a little bit on what an executive's day is like and why it's important to have a script that they want to keep reading, rather than something that kind of distances them. So and, like, there's so he just articulated it so well. Like, if I had this printed out, there'd be so many lines I would be highlighting that were, inspirational and, like, really insightful about why you should write something commercial and what a commercial movie is. It was just really, really well. Like, why even have this podcast episode at all? Just go read it. It was just really well told. The first thing he talks about, Josh, which I think is interesting, what he called it, is the crisis of attention. And he says that if you're an aspiring professional screenwriter and you want this to be your job, write a commercial spec script. And he goes on to say, if you're working on something else, good. Truly, I'm not saying don't ever write that, but I am saying that if your goal is to make screenwriting your job and not a hobby, put that aside for now and write something commercial first. You can always come back to the other thing after you've shown you can bring an audience with you, he says. And before I get your thoughts, I also want to talk about how he defines a commercial spec, because that is part of what probably triggered people who are mad about this article. And the way he defines a commercial spec is a script with a clear premise, one you can pitch in a single sentence, a script with a genre engine that creates momentum, a script with escalating stakes, and a protagonist who has something to lose, a script that will make a large audience want to pay their money to see it in a movie theater. Okay, Josh, what are your thoughts about what he calls the crisis of attention and the sort of need for you to write a commercial spec script to be a professional screenwriter?
I think the reason why this struck me is because I also agree with a lot of this, and it's kind of actually how I've approached screenwriting for quite some time. And I was thinking about this, and I grew up, we might be similar, but like I grew up loving commercial stuff. Like that was what I was attracted to. I like my first movie wasn't, that I loved was not Pulp Fiction, which I think a lot of people love. I was more in like the Spielbergian Back to the Future, Jurassic Park territory, where I was like, oh my God. So I've always loved commercial stuff. And so I agree. Like, I do think that a commercial spec is really what gets you noticed. And it can show that it kind of talks about this, that you can tackle commercial aspects. So I agree. I think you need something that is so, for lack of a better term, undeniable and commercial that people are like, I've never seen this before. I know this, but I've never seen it before. And if you can kind of hit that sweet spot, you're golden.
Yeah, I feel like this article made me flash back to early us when we just started our writers group. We were all just new in the industry, little baby faces, pulling our all-nighters and our writers groups in IHOP because it was 24 hours. And feeling like if I had heard that advice then, I would be like, fuck you, you don't know me. I'll write what I want because it's, I'm an artiste. But the professional screenwriter in me, who's now been working professionally since 2014 and just working in the industry for 20 years, says that he's absolutely correct. And what I love about what Franklin goes on to say in this section is he says that it doesn't mean you make your protagonist white, male, and his love interest is 20 and much younger. It doesn't mean writing to the lowest common denominator. It doesn't mean taking out your messages and the things you want to talk about and just making it bland. That's not what he means by commercial. And what he's kind of trying to say in this article is sort of get that dirty word feeling of what commercial means out of your head and think about what's the positive there. And I think that's the whole idea he wants to emphasize. And I was really on board with that. And it's a lot of what we talk about on this podcast. And kind of what he goes on to say, and we'll get into it in a little bit more detail, is just like commercial just means like a good movie with a sound structure with characters you can invest in, and then go do your like weird bonkers like half silent movie, half black and white mixed media thing sometime else, right? What I want to emphasize about that is yes, like a Jason Statham B movies are commercial movies, but so is John Wick, the elevated version of that. Mission Impossible is a commercial movie. Sinners is a commercial movie. Get Out is a commercial movie, but those are very personal, very well conceived, new, original ideas, but they have really strong character development. They have a really strong structure that works. They have action sequences, a genre push, right? Like they have all the elements that he's talking about. And all he's really saying is you want to write a movie that people want to watch and that people want to tell their friends to watch. And that's not a bad thing. Why would you want to write a movie where just like it's just your mom wants to go watch it?
Imagine you're getting the John Wick script, lands on your desk.
Yeah.
Would you consider that a commercial script?
Yes.
I could see a version where someone's like, this is not. This is like I feel like it requires someone to have a real clear vision on what this could become.
I think it's super commercial. It could have been elevated or not elevated. It could have been Jason Statham B movie, or it could have been the Keanu Reeves movie that it became. And that becomes about direction and execution. But the movie itself it's so clear, it's so clean. The drive, the motivation is very clear. There's a very clear inciting incident that that is emotional, that makes the audience go, "Oh, fuck, yes, I'm on this journey now with this character and I care about him." That's a big thing about commercial movies is your care level, the audience's care level is really high in act 1 that makes them want to have the patience to go through act 2 and ultimately have the character win in act 3, hopefully, whether it's Pyrrhic or not. In act 3, because you're invested in this character, that's also part of it being a commercial movie. And then, of course, it has the set pieces that drive it forward. It has propulsion as well. It has character propulsion because he's actively trying to go after a MacGuffin, which is like the guy who's responsible for killing my dog. So it has all the pieces of a commercial movie. It just so happened they happened to execute it really, really well.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah, so I think that's another reason why Franklin's article really hit home for me is because he was just really honest about what our job is. And I think as we come up, we struggle against the business aspect of what this job is, and we hate it, and we talk down to the people who are the suits and making the business choices. But at the end of the day, like, and there are partners, and this is part of what we have to like. It's no different than, I don't know, any other job,
Yeah.
really. You wanna build a house. If you build a house, you wanna build a house that people can live in. You don't wanna build a house that's, like, really cool to look at on the outside, but is absolutely impractical to live in, right? So it's the same exact thing, and I think that's what's cool too about being an artist and what he's talking about is, yes, commercial. It's like this big sort of thing up at the top, this broadest possible thing. But there are 1,000 different ways, millions even, to tell commercial ideas and to give the audience a good experience. And ideally, I think it is a good experience, right? That doesn't mean it has to be like a very comfortable one. I think making people uncomfortable can absolutely be part of the fun of going to see a movie. The same way that Send Help, I was like closing my eyes and couldn't look at certain things, or even topics that are very uncomfortable. I think that that's fine, but did the audience enjoy that uncomfortability enough to say, "Hey, Josh, go see this movie. It was so cool." Housemaid made me very uncomfortable, but I immediately got out of that theater and was like, "Josh, you gotta go see this movie."
Yeah.
Right? And it also means like your movie can still be cinematic. It can still be beautiful to watch. Your movie could be Happy Gilmore and it could be Taxi Driver. And those are still can be commercial movies that people want to go see over and over again. And that's it. That's what he's talking about. That's what commercial means.
Freaking beautiful, man.
It's great. It's so great. Now, I think some people who listen to this are probably thinking like, "Of course I wanna write a movie that people wanna see. Of course, like, that's the point." And I think the other half of people are saying like, "I don't care if people go see my movie. Like, this is my art, and it's art that matters." And I think what's cool about this business is both of those people are correct. Like, it is absolutely
Hmm.
possible for both of you to have a career in this industry, but your careers will just look drastically different, like, how you got to where you are so that your movies are actually distributed in theaters or on streaming is just going to look different how you accomplish that. But I think what we talk a lot about on this podcast is career longevity and getting to do this as a job that pays your bills for a long time, hopefully forever, until you decide to retire and you live off your WGA retirement. And that's a beautiful life, and it starts with knowing how to write commercial ideas. And what's interesting too is this is a little bit of a lot of directors, for example, that I see doing like really big movies, like Marvel movies, for instance, started with really small, tiny indie movies. They did something that they felt very personal about, that they went outside the studio system to do. And then again, because of career longevity and the ability to work on story. I mean, Wonder Man, for example, was is directed by Destin Cretton, who's known for his very small movie with Brie Larson, Short Term 12, which I believe he
That's
wrote and
right.
directed, which was like this really tiny little movie. And now he's directing, Shang-Chi and now Wonder Man. But Wonder Man, so like he goes out to do Shang-Chi, a hugely commercial, just like huge blockbuster, whatever. And then Wonder Man is smaller and it like really fits in Destin Cretton's wheelhouse, I think, where it's both very commercial, but also very emotional and personal. And these are all things we can do. We can do all of them, which is so cool.
Yeah.
Franklin goes on to talk about the new economics of risk, and I think that is very much worth reading. That's where I say that he like peels back the curtain a little bit. So please read it. It's so well said. I'm not going to be able to even say it anywhere near as well as he does. But basically, Franklin is saying that since the pandemic, the studio system has had to change how it works, how it functions in order to survive, and it is still learning how to adapt as we increasingly go inward into our home to watch things instead of out into the world. But the one thing that the film business absolutely needs more than anything to survive, he says, is new movies. And to make the most amount of money to ensure that their struggling business model survives, it needs movies that make them a lot of money. And movies that make a lot of money often have to have a very simple premise or a concept. And that doesn't mean it's a simple movie, just means the premise is easy to understand if you live in China or you live in Iowa or France, right? Like anywhere in the world. So they can sell it to more people. That's just the practicality of it, right?
Hmm.
Business wise, those are just the movies that make the most sense right now for the most part.
You know what's interesting is I feel like this article can still be misinterpreted by certain people who think, oh, my idea is commercial. This is, for instance, you might say something's commercial and I might say something's commercial. And as a writer, you're coming in saying, this John Wick script, this is a commercial thing. And someone else is like, no, this feels like an indie concept. I don't know. And so I didn't really think about that. I'm just kind of like realizing this kind of in real time that I still could see a lot of pushback from people who read this article and are like, he's wrong. I don't know. It's just an interesting.
But I think that it bears exploring what we mean by commercial, which is a whole other episode where we
Of
can
course.
talk about, yes, of course it's good structure, blah, blah, blah. But what does it actually mean? Like, why is one script commercial and one isn't? Even if it's like about the same thing. And one thing I'll just say right now is um Westerns, for example, tend not to be super commercial in an international sense. It's not a home run, and I say that because I have a constant spec that I've had since college that is a Western that has had many uphill battles. And it's because people generally outside of the US have no context or care level for Westerns, for our time in the
Mhm.
American West. It's not part of their life experience. They don't really get it. Some people, I think, like there's niche people in other cultures that find it fascinating, but on the whole,
Yeah.
it doesn't really sell in other places, right? The same way that something super niche French isn't going to work here, that we have to adapt it for an American audience. Like people just don't get it. So look at your script, and if it feels so small, so personal, so specifically American, or so specifically this town or whatever, it might not be the commercial thing that you think that it is, even though it's like an assassin story. But it could be. I mean,
Yeah.
we'll talk about it. But this quote, Josh, is I think the quote that maybe made you and me feel warm and fuzzy inside when we read this article, where he says, "The film industry doesn't just want commercial spec scripts right now, it needs them
Probably.
desperately. It's
Yeah.
existential whether anyone wants to admit it on record or not. They need your movies." And that is really exciting. And the
Yeah.
more we've read articles and seen interviews about theater owners across the world and teenagers who want to go see movies, like the more you actually hear that people, it's not the pessimism that you hear from studios and production companies. It's give us movies, we want content, please, we want to go to the theater, we want to bring people to the theater, we want to advertise movies here so that people want to come to the next movie. And you're not giving us commercial movies, so guys, let's go out and make some fucking movies to bring people back to the theater.
I love it.
Which brings me to like the last part of what I thought was really interesting about his article, which is what he calls the strategic spec. Now, this doesn't happen to everybody, but Franklin paints a pretty clear picture of how it can happen for you, where you do write a commercial movie script, it goes out into the world, everyone loves it because you did your job, you made it commercial and you made it great, which means now execs all over Hollywood are just, they just can't put it down, they can't stop talking about it. And maybe that movie gets made, maybe it doesn't. That almost doesn't matter. More than likely, it doesn't get made because getting movies made is harder than actually selling a movie. But Now that you've written this commercial movie and everyone loves it and they can tell that you can write a commercial movie, now you're taking a lot of general meetings and you're crushing those general meetings. And then you're pitching on assignments and you're being submitted material from other people because they loved what you did with this other thing that never got made. Doesn't matter. Then you're asked to rewrite scripts and then now you're making money as a screenwriter. And that's how it happens. And I think once you establish yourself in the market, then you can make the weirder stuff, right? And it's because you've earned trust. And that's again the same as in any other job. You get more responsibility the more trust that you build.
I just want to touch on one more thing in this article. Basically, he lays out the architect of a wide door, and it's essentially what his opinion is on writing a script, what your script needs. I'm not going to get into all of this, but it basically goes over, do you have a hook? Do you have an engine? Do you have the spectacle? Do you have the DNA? Meaning, is it your script? And he kind of lists out these different aspects where it's like a playbook. It's so crystal clear. Like if you're a writer, and this is why I think this article also is so great, is because he's just like, here, this is what you need. This is it. This is what I've seen time and time again. And so, yeah, of course we'll post this, but that's what I think really hit for me, where it's, I think people need that as well, where you can kind of see something and then have your script fall. Like, does it answer this question? Yes. Does it answer this? No. Okay. Now I need to tweak this. I guess then the last thing I'll ask you, how do you feel about selling out?
I feel pretty good about it.
For sure.
I like you came up on real commercial movies, the Steven Spielbergian phase of the best part of our lives.
That's amazing.
And it was the best. And I still love going to theaters for those big movies. And I also love small movies. I love all movies. But most of all, I just love good stories. And that's really what he's talking about here. And I love genre. So yeah, the commercial sort of wheelhouse is definitely where I like to write. And interestingly, something you were talking about was reminding me of a meeting I had this week with my reps. And I have a new spec that's going out. I finished that adaptation of the book, and they had notes on it. They have like some creative notes, but they just kept saying, this is a movie. This is a movie. This is a movie. What that means is it is commercial. People will see this and be like, oh, I can envision this as a movie. This is producible. This is exciting. It has all the necessary pieces that get buyers, people who make movies and distribute them, get excited. And that's the best compliment you can get, is when someone reads your script and says, this is a movie.
Yeah, that's 90% of the battle, it feels like, because we've talked about this, but a spec is a blueprint that is going to be changed time and time again. It might be really close, but it's going to change. All you need to do is get someone to believe it's a movie, and then it will sell, and then people will be excited about it, and more people will become excited about it. And once you get 1, you get 2, and then you get 4, and then you get 8, and it just kind of like explodes out in an exponential way, in my opinion. So absolutely, if someone says this is a movie, you've done it. You know what, Tasha?
Yeah.
You've done it.
Should I take the day off?
Yeah. Day's done.
Day's up. So that's it. Like that, there's also a million other, just again, gems of hope and I think advice in Franklin's post. So we're gonna post it in our description, post it on our socials. Go read it. Go read this part 2, which I'll do today as well. Print it, pin it somewhere. Stay inspired. All right, quote of the day. Good writing is deceptive in that it hides its own artifice. It makes it seem easy. Michael Art. Please remember to rate and subscribe. Follow us at ActTwoWriters for more awesome writing stuff. You can follow me, Tasha, at Story Thursday on Instagram or on Twitter at Tasha 3.0.
I'm Joshua Hallman on Twitter, Josh Hallman on Instagram.
And as always, the Act Two podcast is a production of Act Two, a network and support group for the everyday working screenwriter. This episode was edited by Paul Lundquist.